Oh, I have the tea.
Oh, I'm ready for it. I love
Okay.
tea.
Have you heard about the Pokemon leak?
I have indeed.
Okay.
I didn't read it though.
Oh, great. I'm saving the best part for last. So I have three things to quickly cover before we get right into it. One, the most interesting part to me was seeing the like beta sprites that they never released, like the initial concept designs. I'm like, oh, this is super cool. Some of them are like downright horrendous, though. I'm sending you the picture right now. Some of them are really cool and eventually either get used in this like generation 3, or you can kind of see the remnants of some of them from later gens. But I love the Japanese rabbit starter. That one looks really funny, but also kind of racist, I'll be honest.
I love that it's wearing a pool floaty permanently.
Right? I know, it's so good. I also love, if you go to the bottom left corner, I love just the turtle box.
Right above it, that's just a dog.
Yeah, that's literally just a dog. There's so many good ones. Two, a lot of people harp on Game Freak for being like a shit studio because they, or not as good as they could be because it sounds like or looks like they don't put much effort into the games, especially with the most recent game that they released. There's a lot of frame rate issues. There were a lot of bugs on release, all this stuff. However, this leak showed just how much dedication Game Freak puts into the game, the Pokemon franchise. There were so many things that they had planned for generations 3, 4, 5, and 6 that they just didn't have time to use because of Nintendo's crunch line. They had this leak was a ton of different stuff. It was a hack, technically, not like a leak, or I guess those are kind of the same, but
hackers got it and leaked it.
Exactly. And it was like they had unused camera angles that they wanted to do for the 3D version. They had like specific battle music and stills that they wanted to use. There's tons of stuff. If you're a Pokemon fan and haven't checked it out yet, go check it out because there's a lot of cool stuff. But it just shows like the unfortunate like era that we've been in, that video games have been in for a while, where the production companies just rush them.
Yeah.
And it's like, get it out as soon as possible. It's a bummer. However, 3, this is what people have been going crazy over more than the sprites. We got a lot of official Pokemon lore of like how the universe is made and what Pokemon are actually important beyond what we already know. However, part of it had contained files from a couple personal files from employees, and there was a write-up about how Pokemon could breed with humans. And it starts out as a long time ago when the boundary between Pokemon and humans were unclear. And the whole thing goes on to talk about how this girl fell in love with a Pokemon and ended up having a Pokemon human hybrid. And then this was a Pokemon that she dated or fell in love with or whatever. And it was like
some things.
Where was it? It was like the Pokemon transforms into a human and tricks the girl into having a kid with her. And the
Classic.
Pokemon's Japanese name is Bakufun. And then it goes on to talk about how the dad hears that she has a kid with this Pokemon and then slaughters the Pokemon. It's wild. And I'm just like, wow. So now this Pokemon, English name is Typhlosion. Typhlosion's getting a lot of like heat on the internet. And I'm like, it's not its fault. It's this freak. It's a freaking boy.
He didn't do anything.
Although this still from the anime that has not aged well. Yeah, it's pretty good. Anyways, that's been the Pokemon tea recently. It's been very funny.
Amazing. Never expected that from Pokemon of all places.
I know, right? Well, I mean, there's been like the whole like Pokemon like the Pokemon that they'd fuck, you know?
Yeah.
Like Gardevoir specifically. Everyone knows that one.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That one is the most like renown. And then there's the Vaporeon that's just like a fish dog type thing. But like people love it because it's the intro or the like write up about it in the Pokedex talks about how like it's so close to like human DNA because it's like 94% water or whatever. So like,
I guess that's how that
it's
works.
all water plus like close to human DNA. So like, oh, well, so you're saying it's breedable. So now this has just like ignited the flame of like Pokemon fuck freaks.
Oh man.
It's been a time. It's been funny though. If you're a fan of Pokemon, check it out. The sprites are really cool. Anyways, welcome to episode 137 of You're Ridiculous.
Woo!
I startled you there, it looks like.
I was making sure you said the right number.
Naturally, because normally I do not say the right number. Even though it's right in front of me, I'm looking at it.
Every time.
Every time, without fail. Last week we talked about episode 4 and 5 of Rings of Power Season 2.
We did indeed.
And this week we're covering the rest of them. We're finishing it up. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
You wrote the wrong ones. It's 6, 7, and 8, not 5, 6, and 7.
Oh.
It's alright.
Oh.
I'm like, wait a second. There's 2 repeated numbers here. Doesn't matter though. We're talking about episode 6, 7, and 8, the final 3 that we haven't covered yet. And we're going to sort of do them how we've done previous episodes where we talk through the entire plot point of each sort of like storyline, but we're going to batch the episodes all in one. So all the storylines that we cover are across 3 episodes. Episode apparently 6, 8, and 7.
I fixed it.
And due to time reasons and recording reasons, Wolf had to skip some of the stuff in episode 8 that was like, that we both deemed less important or that we already kind of knew. I'll cover those real quick. And then we get to talk about the really fun stuff.
The cool stuff. The better stuff.
Exactly. So episode 6 kind of starts off with Arendelle and Muriel and them facing trial from Farzan, who's taken up kinghood in Numenor. And he's like, hey, you got to pay for your crime, or well, alleged crimes that aren't even real. That led to a bunch of Numenorian deaths when you guys entered Middle-earth. And we didn't get anything out of it. Like, we now have a blind ex-queen and a bunch of dead Numenorians.
Yeah, they haven't got anything yet.
Exactly, yeah. So, like, nothing happens, and apparently Farzan wants to see them justice. And Elendil's like, I'll agree to these crimes that I definitely didn't commit, but I won't recognize you as king.
Yeah.
And the daughter is like, Father, please, just recognize him as king.
So sick of her.
Yeah, she's a cunt. She gets worse, though. And then
she does.
Muriel steps up and she's like, no, I was queen at the time. I approved all of this. You're going to judge me instead of Elendil. And then one of the side guys is like, hey, let the Valar judge them. And then she gets thrown in the ocean because that's the custom.
Yeah. The little special judgment pit with a serpent in it, sea serpent in it.
Yep. And she was judged innocent.
Yep, not guilty.
And so they're both acquitted of their crimes, but they're still, for some reason, that doesn't put her back in power.
I know, right?
It was kind of weird. She just got overthrown and everybody's okay with it.
Right, like an eagle from who knows where flew in and you chose your king based off that. But the sea serpent you low-key worship deemed her not guilty. You're not on board yet?
I know. Like, yeah, exactly. As if the eagle wasn't enough. The sea serpent represented as a Valar was not enough. I'm like, okay, well, this doesn't really make sense. And so, not too much happens beyond that. We do see, oh no, that was last episode. The guy dies.
Oh, yeah.
The basis important of it is Muriel stays in Numenor and Elendil decides to leave. And at the very end of it, she gives him, I wrote the sword Narsil, which is also called the White Flame. The only reason that's really important is because that's the sword that he used in the final fight against Sauron, that Isildur cut his Sauron's fingers off and severed the ring. And it ends up getting like snapped in half by Sauron, and it ends up becoming called the Shards of Narsil that get reforged and all that. Anybody who's seen The Lord of the Rings knows what it is. But it's a really important sword, and it's like the Sword of Kings, basically.
Okay.
Beyond that, not much happens else in Numenor. Farzan is kind of currently plotting to invade Vala, which is like where all it's the Undying Lands where Galadriel was going to go, and like they're not supposed to be there. They're not allowed to be there.
That's quite the plan.
Yeah, so that's going to be coming up in season 3 presumably. So look forward to that. But not much else happens with them. Then we kind of quickly move on to Isildur, who, honestly, again, not much happens with these guys. At the very end, they sort of decide to return to Ar-Pharazôn's son shows up at Peligir. He's like, hey, you're now under new management, all that type of thing. And he's like, you're going to be a shipyard for us. It's like, what's the meme? It's like, oh, saved you. No, under. It's like, you saved. Oh, damn it. Anyways, they all think it's for the good, but they end up just using Peligir as like a shipyard, basically. And the guy, Kenneth, something like that, whatever the son's name is.
Douchebag.
Yeah, douchebag is like, he sees Isildur and is like, oh, thank God you're alive. That gives him a big hug. Your sister's gonna be so happy. By the way, I tried to execute your father. and he's like, if you don't listen to me, I'll also execute your horse, Beric.
Well, we're back to the horse.
Yeah, exactly. And then so that sort of plays out as you would think. And
as I was like skimming through it, I specifically heard the "and I'll kill your horse" part.
Yeah. I'd like it. I told you, Numenorians are freaks with their horses. Honestly, not much has really happened to that. I don't even remember her name, but the one that was like gonna shack up with Isildur. She's like, we laid the foundation of our house with my betrothed, whatever his name is, and he said I love you and I said I love him, but it didn't feel right, and so they were gonna go. So she was just gonna leave her husband or betrothed
just
or whatever,
like that,
and was gonna go to Numenor with Isildur, and then the guy douchebag is like, yeah, we don't let lowborns come to Numenor.
Wow.
So and that's when the whole spiel sent out, and Isildur's not very happy.
I bet.
Yeah, so that's kind of them. Not much really happens. I think there's a lot coming up in the presumed season 3. So we'll kind of touch on that later on towards the end of the episode, what we think might happen next. But the other important part is Nori and the Stranger and the Stewards and Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, those people.
Yeah, so really the only interesting thing is kind of the culmination of it all. Tom Bombadil is giving the Stranger a series of tests, and he's like, you failed them all. If you failed the next one, that's it.
Yeah.
You fail. And so it's go out into this tree desert and go find your staff and don't come back until you have one. And while this is happening, the Stranger is having visions of Nori and Poppy being crushed by boulders.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have to go save my friends. And Tom's like, well, it's either save your friends or go get your staff. You can't do both. And he's like, well, and notably, Tom says, the Stranger's like, they're going to die if I don't help him. And Tom says, many that live deserve death. Many that die deserve to live. Who are you to give it to them? And that's notable because that's exactly what Gandalf says in Lord of the Rings to Frodo when he talks about Gollum or wanting to kill Gollum. And so there's an Easter egg for you that was really cool to see. But the Stranger decides to go save his friends, obviously. And we left off season 5 or episode 5 with the sort of not outcasts. Who are those guys in the masks?
Badlanders.
Yeah.
He's calling big people.
Yeah, Outlanders, bad guys, whatever they are. And the Dark Wizard basically going to hunt Poppy and Nori and then the Stranger, respectively. Yeah. And so they all go back to where the Stewards are living in that little hovel area and basically fuck shit up. They tear it all down. And the guy and the Dark Wizard is there waiting for the Stranger to show up. And when he does, he's like, oh, my friend, you're here. We can finally have a chance to talk. You don't remember me right now, but I remember you. And he's like, I have no idea where you are. It's like, come, let's leave. We don't need to deal with these people anymore. And the Dark Wizard yeets the bad guy into a wall and kills him. And just discarded him, used him. And he's like, we're going to go train or whatever. And he's like, I don't want to train with you. Look what you just did. Look what you did to my friends. Right. And so he's kind of like, the Dark Wizard's like, fine, you'll come, this is how you act now. I'm going to kill everybody here. And then later on, you'll come back, like groveling at my feet or whatever. And so he like tears the whole thing down and drops boulders of the like houses on Nori and Poppy and the rest of the stores. And then the stranger's power activates and he saves everybody, saves the day. And then the white or the dark wizard fucks off. He's like, I'll see you again.
I figured that's where that was going.
Yeah, it's
Tom started talking about how you failed all the tests, and every time he's like had to do something, it's because he's so focused on himself and not the people who need his help.
Exactly, and he saves them all, and then basically they decide to split. Nori is going to go bring the stores, presumably to where the rest of the Harfoots are, and then the stranger is going to go do his own thing. They officially split off and do your own thing, but at the very end, the stores all thank him for saving, and they say, thank you, Grand Elf, thank you, Grand Elf. And then amidst the rubble and all this stuff, he finds his staff. He finds like a broken tree branch, and he's like, oh. So he hauls his ass back to Tom Bombadil. He's like, that was the test. I was meant to go save my friends. And he's like, it was. We can finally sing together now. And so they end their storyline fucking just doing a jam session song.
Amazing.
It's actually pretty good, that particular part. And he's like, my name is Gandalf. I can finally train now. And so it's official. The stranger we knew all along is Gandalf.
Yeah.
So that part was kind of cool. The sort of like lead up, like Poppy talking to the stores, honestly wasn't all that interesting. It was really just sort of the end story that was fun. But, you know, maybe we'll see more. We'll definitely see more of them in another season, I'm sure. Maybe they'll be more interesting.
The tree branch paid off.
It did. They
had a long talk about the tree.
Yeah, they did. So yeah, that was really cool. Then we finally get to the really important bit, which you can now weigh in on as well.
Yeah.
Of Sauron, Adar, the elves, Arondir. It all kind of combines into one plot line, sort of. But Wolf, why don't you sort of start to break it down where we start?
All right. Everyone's so on edge about Sauron that they just fuck themselves over at every step. They're like, oh, this is all part of his plan. He wants us to do this. He wants to do that. And he's just sitting there like, what the fuck is happening?
It's like licking a window. Like, I have no idea how any of this happened.
He's just trying to make it work.
He's really just, honestly, good for him. He's rolling with all the punches and doing a great job of it.
He sure is. Like, all right, let's start from the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, good idea.
Where does this start?
This starts with Adar talking to Galadriel and like saying, hey, join me. We can fight with them. And then it leads into a peace summit, sort of, like with Elrond and the rest of the elves. It's like, hey, don't fucking fight me. Let's fight Sauron, the true enemy. And Elrond, ever the dumb bitch, is like, oh, we gonna fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's sort of where that is.
I can make the comment I was gonna say.
Oh yeah.
Especially in relation to everyone just fucking themselves over because they're like over hyping Sauron. If what's her face Galadriel had just paired from Adar from the start, probably would have turned out better.
Oh, 100%. Adar even says from the beginning, he's like, I don't want to attack Eregion. I just want to kill Sauron. He's like, I don't want my children to die. But like lives are necessary at this point. If you want to make it difficult. So I 100% agree with you. It's like, it is hard to like make that a pairing, like a alliance. But if you sort of look at the grand scheme of things, like,
listen,
Sauron is definitely the bigger picture.
Yeah, her doubt over him has to do with how he's ugly and how all the orcs are ugly. Like, come on. You got a common enemy, work with it. You've seen him fight against Sauron. They fucked this shit up the first time. They'll do it again. Yeah, and I definitely agree. But they're all like, no, fuck you. But during that peace summit, those two kiss. Now, those two being Elrond and Galadriel. Yeah, not Galadriel and Adar.
Although that could have happened too. We don't know. Now, what did you think about this?
I guess it was alright. I kind of forgot they were a thing.
The funny thing is they're really not, and it gets worse. So they've been friends growing up. Undoubtedly, there's probably some amount of like feelings there, which is why they could make that kiss work. But even like when he pulls away, you can see Galadriel's like kind of confusion.
He's like, what the fuck happened?
It's like, what was this? Like, yeah, like, you know, I can understand, you know, kissing a friend if they're like about to die, like, because that's what Adar says. Like, hey, if we're gonna fight, I'm killing her.
Right.
And Elrond says, for the greater good, like, this is what has to happen. I'm saying goodbye to Galadriel.
Yeah.
But it's weird in a way when you think about what happens, because currently she has a husband.
Oh yeah.
She talks about it. It's like in season 1, she mentions it once. And in Lord of the Rings, the movie, and all of the books and everything, she has a husband. And we don't know any like official tale that they ever hooked up besides this one kiss. What's weird is that Elrond ends up marrying Galadriel's daughter.
Oh, now it's really weird.
Now it's really weird.
We pulled the Twilight.
And he is like thousands of years older than her. And so it was just like, wow, this is a little Alabama-y for my taste.
Elrond's fumbling at every fucking step.
Yeah, it was kind of weird if you know that bit of lore, but that's like not super common lore. Like they don't even really talk about it in the Lord of the Rings.
I bet.
The daughter is dead by then.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, his wife ends up dying somehow. It's never really talked about.
Yeah.
So it's just like Elrond and his daughter is sort of the main focus. But like it's weird when you know the context, but if you don't know it, it's nice. It's like, oh yeah, these two, and now they kiss.
I guess they're kissing now.
I guess they're kissing.
I thought he was gonna pass something through his mouth. Because I mean, why else kiss her?
Right. That would have, I think, made more sense. But he ended up just like slipping like that brooch from his collar.
Yeah.
I had to rewind it because I'm like, wow, when did he do that? But you see it eventually. But it's like, yeah, I thought, because what you said would have made way more sense.
Yeah.
Which was like passing the ring through the mouth. Like give a full-on big smooch.
Yeah, just pocket in your cheek for a bit.
Right, exactly. Chipmunk that shit. But no. And so the elves end up going to Eregion and sort of defending Eregion against the elves. Or against the orcs, sorry. And they're like attacking, and they have a pretty smart plan, which is to dam up the river.
Yep.
Never would have worked.
Oh.
Not in the biggest gripe I had with that scene was how conveniently placed that rock was. It was hanging on by a fucking thread. A gust of wind could have blown that shit over.
They would have to deal with that in like 5 years.
Right, and there's no way that the dam dams it up that quickly. Yeah. That's not how that works. That shit drained instantly. and even if it did, let's say it like falls perfectly so it completely blocks it, it would be, you'd be swimming through mush. It's not solid like on the bottom.
Yeah, all the sediment.
Yeah, exactly. All the rocks that would absolutely be in there. It's like, no, there was a clear fucking field for them to fight in. Fully like hard stone and everything.
That field should be full of sewage.
Right. So just full of floaters. Oh man. But there was a lot of cool like combat in here, like choreography.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, they really stepped it up with the combat choreography. Started with Arondir, and now it's just everyone's got the really cool moment. Yeah,
it really looks like they're trying to paint Arondir as the Legolas sort of elf, who's doing all these like really fancy jumps and everything, and it's working out. It's nice.
There was that.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, there was basically Elrond's last like member of his original team. By the way, world's worst captain. Everyone in his care fucking died.
That was so funny. He live action texting me. Like, this guy sucks.
She gets arrowed like 4 times, but you know what? She does her part.
I do not understand what it is with Lord of the Rings adaptions. Love doing this. If I had $10 for every time someone gets 3 or 4 arrows stuck with it in them and they still keep going, I've had $20, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Boromir in Lord of the Rings gets the same shit pulled onto him. He gets shot with 3 arrows One after another keeps standing up and killing orcs. And then eventually he ends up dying to his own wounds. This lady gets shot like instantly with like 4 arrows. Like it was like the orcs turned on the accuracy switch and all just went after her. And then she's like, I love she had some quote that was like, oh, Elrond's like, how many arrows do you have left? She's like, enough to do my part. And it's like, oh, she shot the fire arrow, instantly dies.
That's enough of that.
She's like, we don't need her anymore. She did her part. Exactly.
Oh my God.
It was really so funny. Yeah, it was great.
I was tearing up and then they just sent me. They took me out of it.
It was, they did such a good job leading up to like get sad with the music and her face and everything. Like it was really good. But then it's just like, she fucking explodes. It's like no justice for her death.
By an archer that's like 5 feet away from her.
Oh yeah. Terrible.
No one could have stopped him? Throwing a rock or something?
Oh God. We do get a brief combat fight between Adar and Arondir.
He gets bodied.
This was unfortunate. I really wanted something to come of this, and he got fucking owned.
Yeah, he stabbed him with his own arrow.
And that was it. That was the fight. Like, okay, well, that was boring. That was lame. But then, surely we get a redeeming fight between Elrond and Adar. Nope.
No.
He got fucking choked out.
Yeah, bodies him too.
Bodies him. I'm like, wow, this guy's pretty good. No wonder why they put him in charge.
Yeah.
Gil-galad made the shit choice putting Elrond in charge. They can't do shit.
Right? What a guy.
Horrible. But, sort of while all this is happening, and sort of scaling back a bit, we have Celebrimbor and Sauron too.
Ah, yeah, Celebrimbor is getting played like a fiddle, a piano, every instrument in the book.
Yeah. I was sorry. I was
gonna
say, go ahead. I was going to say something and then immediately cut myself off, and then it just sounded weird.
I heard it already.
Yeah.
Sauron's throwing a fit because of the rings. Because what's his face? Celebrimbor won't make the rings. Then he does the whole thing and finally gets him to start working on the rings. And then the fucking orcs start attacking.
Yeah.
He's like convincing everyone in the like castle that Celebrimbor's fucking lost it, not to trust his word, that he's gone. Too stressed.
Yeah.
And then he sticks Celebrimbor in an illusion. So he still thinks everything's fine, so he keeps working on the rings. And everyone's just like, wow, fuck our king. He's just in there tinkering away.
Yeah. This, can you imagine? So you remember, like, I think it was the start of episode 8, where Celebrimbor is just, like, out on the balcony drinking tea?
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, if you're an elf, like, looking up at this, like, this fucking crazy old man, just, like, sipping tea as, like, the siege is happening around him, and then he just goes back inside.
What a beautiful day.
Sauron's using quite a bit of power over several weeks, maybe even more than a month, to create basically a loop where all the things are staying the same for Celebrimbor to make it so look like time isn't really passing.
Yeah.
And the days. And this was like a really impressive display about how powerful Sauron is.
And he's doing this all while like commanding troops in for a war and putting all his mistakes on fucking Celebrimbor. Yeah,
he's not even like in the room half the time. Or more than half the time. He's doing all this magic while also like sort of controlling the siege.
Yeah.
It's really impressive from a power level standpoint. But also really funny. And he eventually does figure it out though.
He's like, damn, Celebrimbor, he didn't foresee this. When the orcs like, it was when they did the damn thing. I'm like, you haven't even talked to the guy.
Oh yeah.
You didn't foresee this.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Celebrimbor fucked us, right guys?
I didn't check.
He just further goes to show he really is the Lord of Deception.
Yeah,
or the Great Deceiver. Yeah. Just everybody. I also really liked how he figured it out, which is like watching a fucking mouse.
Yeah, we saw the mouse too a couple of times.
We did, and I'm like, oh, the third time they showed it, and I'm like, all right, what is going on? And it's like, what, the first one is like, oh, look at this mouse. And he even says, like, hello, Mr. Mouse. Like, Disney's gonna sue.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. But, yeah, he does eventually figure it out.
Yeah, the mouse, the candles, and the coals, or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. He kind of realizes that, hey, nothing's burning.
Yeah, he throws a tantrum, and then Sauron throws a bigger tantrum.
They both just, like...
They're losing it.
Have the biggest hissy fit I've ever seen.
He
even shouts...
and tired.
He even shouts at, like, a demand. He's, I want the rings. I want the 9.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny.
Cool no more. He's had enough.
Yeah. I also really like the scene where Celebrimbor is, like, looking at the mithril. He's like, look at this stuff. And then he kind of looks down on it, and it's, like, black goop.
Yeah.
And then Sauron raises his hand. It's like, he said something like, all creation requires sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it shows just, like, how much of Sauron's essence went into the 9 rings.
Bunch, all of it, basically.
Yeah, and which really makes sense because those are the most corrupted rings. And, like, they end up converting the people that wear them into wraiths. Like into those guys that we saw in episode 5.
Yeah.
Not those ones, but like people like those.
Yeah, like them.
Yeah. So it makes sense why those are so corrupted. It's because literally he's just like jizzing into the mithril.
Made of them.
Yeah. And so he eventually like kind of skirts Sauron. He cuts his own thumb off to escape the shackles. He what?
With his index finger too, because he had the big meaty hands.
Oh yeah, big meaty claws. Yeah, that's a bold move by him. Honestly, I respect it.
Yeah, he's metal.
I bet there's not a lot of people that could actually do that.
I think I could do it once, but I could not do the second finger. That's a bit much.
Right. I've always thought about this whenever it shows up a couple times in like video games. Like Until Dawn does it, right? When like the guy, he gets his hand stuck in that trap and he's like, has to like cut off a finger. Mike.
Yeah.
He has to like use the broken machete. But his like,
worse.
Right? His is like broken. He's like hacking away at it.
He's got and tries.
Yeah, it shows up like a couple times. This was obviously better because it was like a metal clamp. So it's just like a one and done type thing.
Yeah.
But I bet there's a lot of people that like mentally could not do that.
That's a lot.
I think you're right though. I could probably do the one, but I couldn't do the second one.
I'd be like, damn, I'm out of luck.
Yeah, I'm fucked.
How to make this work.
I'm just thumbless. Although you can like reattach them if you do it quick enough. Obviously he didn't, but
yeah, he just ditched them.
Don't need those. Don't need them.
I guess he didn't in the end.
And then he goes down to Mardania. Did you watch that part?
Yes, that's where I was like, oh my god. Oh my god.
You go ahead and explain it. You go ahead.
So he finally makes it out the fucking workshop and he's like, everyone, I've been tricked, we've been tricked, it's Sauron. And everyone's just looking at him like he's fucking crazy. Like, that's the craziest thing he could have said in the world. Of course it's Sauron.
Well, so, okay, pause right there. It makes sense why none of the elves believed him, right? Because this whole time they think Anatar is like normal, like he's acting normal, he's not deceiving anybody, he doesn't. So it's such a good play on Sauron's point. And then he holds up, he's like, look at his hand, it's full of goo. And then he holds it up and he's obviously like transfixed to being red. Yeah. And then so to make Celebrimbor look even crazier as he is. But it's such a really good play on Sauron's point. But like also from Celebrimbor, it's just like, oh wow, get fucked, loser.
You can't win.
Yeah.
And then he makes it accidentally kill fucking what's her name? Mardania.
It's so
She tries to grab him and he pushes him off, and then what's his face? Sauron gives her a little extra flick, so she goes flying off the fucking side of the wall.
And then she gets her skull cleaved in by an orc.
Yeah.
It was
my god.
I literally had like a outburst reaction to that. I'm like, oh my god. I was like, holy shit. It's like, wow, that was wild. I actually was surprised that Sauron did that. It makes sense what he's trying to do, like control Celebrimbor and make him look crazy and everything. But like, Mardania was kind of like second in charge.
Yeah, I guess that's why he was putting the moves on her, so he could do exactly that.
I suppose you're right. The one who kind of looked like Galadriel.
Yeah, that's why he picked her. He misses her.
But then he gets sent up back into the tower. He's like, hey, make my 9, you pleb.
Yeah, he starts working on it, but then Sauron just has to have his little moment. If he had saved his speech, he probably would have finished the rings and let it all go. But he pissed him off again. He starts, what's the word? Pondering. No, reminiscing about his relationship with Morgoth. Morgoth?
Yeah, Morgoth, yeah.
Morgoth, and how he's like, you're making me act like Morgoth, where he's like the self-awareness to see that he's acting in Morgoth's image, but not enough self-awareness to be like, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, he was pretty much doing exactly what Morgoth did to him.
Yeah.
Which is good imagery.
All the way down to the, you're making me do this, you're hurting yourself. I didn't do anything.
He says that while he's shooting arrows into his chest. He's like, look what you made me do! You did this, you asked for this.
You forced my hand.
And then, finally, Celebrimbor has his last speech. How Sauron is not in charge of the rings, but he's a slave to them, and he has dubbed him the Lord of the Rings. Through Celebrimbor's last dying words.
Indeed.
And he cries.
He is. He's very upset.
Sauron sheds a tear.
That was his buddy.
It was interesting, and there's been mixed reactions on that. But I think it makes a lot of sense. He had
it's been like 300 years, hasn't it?
In the official lore, yeah. This obviously has been full stop. It's probably been they've been working together for a couple months.
Okay.
But in if you think about the grand scheme of things, he respected Celebrimbor. He was the one who worked closely with him. He also gave Sauron what he's been waiting thousands of years for.
Yeah.
So and he also lost control during that moment when Celebrimbor calls him a shadow of Morgoth. Yeah. He didn't like that, obviously.
Yeah, he did not.
So it's sort of he lost control and killed someone he respected. So I think it's pretty easy to understand why he actually had emotion there.
Yeah. What's his face? Sauron, he's a deceiver, but he's not a liar. And I think it was a couple episodes ago, Adar and Galadriel make a big point of saying that.
Yeah.
He never ever lied to them.
Right.
So he's not gassing up Celebrimbor just to gas him up. He believed those things.
Right. Yeah. Which is worse, honestly.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, from both perspectives. Come on, couldn't he just lie to us? It is almost more brutal the way it happened than what could have happened. Which is a good thing.
Forced to kill his friend. Forced to kill his friend. Quote unquote.
Fucking impales him on a pillar.
He does. And then he props him up, too.
Oh, yeah, he leaves him there. Just hanging around. And then the fucking orc is like, hey, are you Sauron?
Read the room, guys. Now's not the time.
Okay. We kind of skipped it a bit, but at the end of episode 7, I think, he escapes the tower, Celebrimbor, and he is about to get jailed basically by the elves. Galadriel comes in, and is like, you cunts, this is the Lord of Eregion. And so she kind of sets his mind right. He gives her the rings, the 9 rings. And then he's like, I'm going to go capture Sauron. He goes back up to the tower. And Sauron just fucking mind controls 8 elves and has them slaughter each other.
That was very cool.
That was so cool, and another incredible display of his power. He does it without touching everybody.
Yeah.
It was so cool. He's like, oh, you think you have me cornered? And then he's like, all the elves turn their swords on each other.
Kerplow.
It was really cool. But we finally get a fight between Galadriel and Sauron, though.
We do indeed. After, what's his face, the fucking bitch-ass orcs turned on their mother, father, creator for nothing.
That was
because they're too stupid to understand.
Well, he is the deceiver.
Yeah, he found the easiest ones to deceive.
He did. I really want to know what he said to them.
Right? Like, I mean, I guess they were like already doubting because a bunch of them are dying and what's his face? Adar's like, keep fighting because there's no other option. You have to keep fighting.
Yeah. That one, like, I don't remember his name, but the one, like, leader orc is like, hey, we kind of want to leave and don't want to fight anymore. He's like, Adar's like, no, keep going. We're almost won.
You either die or you win. There's no other option.
Right. And so that's sort of, like, it kind of, in a way, makes sense. Like, they were already doubting his leadership, but at the very end, Adar sees it. Like, the ring that he puts on from Galadriel purifies him, it clears his mind, and he's like, I'm going to be the leader that they need.
Yeah.
And then he just gets, like, prison shivved over and over and over again.
About 5 minutes too late.
Yeah.
Maybe if he wasn't, like, laying there like a maiden as he had this epiphany, and maybe took it to them, he would have gotten to them first.
Right. That was tragic. But what do you think of the fight between Galadriel and Sauron?
Oh, that was really good. Though, Sauron really, really underestimates Galadriel's willingness to, like, stab and kill her loved ones. She was actually quite upset that, what's-his-face, Elrond actually stopped the charge at the sight of her. He learned that he was just being petty when he said that he'd let her die. He didn't mean it.
Indeed, he was, yeah.
She meant it.
She meant it. She's like, no, let me fucking die. For the greater, she knows that, like, war in general requires sacrifice. She's learned this when her brother died from fighting Sauron. So, like, she understands, like, the cost of the greater good. Obviously, Elrond's feelings got in the way, whether it be emotional, or not emotional, but romantic, or just from a friend point of view. Like, that's his oldest friend.
Yeah.
He let his feelings get in the way. Galadriel did not. She fucking knows.
She didn't realize. That's why I thought fucking the other Galadriel was fake.
Yeah. Understandable.
Being all emotional and shit, apologizing. You don't apologize. You're Galadriel.
Right. She girl bossed up, though, and fought him.
She did.
Even though he was transforming into all her loved ones.
Yeah, didn't let it deter her.
She ends up getting stabbed by Morgoth's crown.
It does.
Which acts a lot like the Morgul blades in Lord of the Rings. And it basically, like, poisons your soul, and then eventually you turn into a wraith.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of how it works. There's also a theory that this crown ends up getting, like, melted down and turned into the blades, and that's where they come from.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the blades that he gives the 9 men who he controls eventually. But that's, like, unconfirmed yet so far, but it makes sense.
Indeed.
But so she gets, like, poisoned, and then she jumps off a fucking cliff to save the ring.
Just to spite him.
Right. But he ends up with the 9, and he is extremely pissed.
Yeah, he's got that at least.
He kills the orc in command, and then they all fuck off.
He's having a bad day, a bad week.
He is. And he just killed his best friend. Then he killed the orc leader. And now, what are the orcs going to do?
What do they do? Like,
they just fuck off.
And they just go back home?
Well, so presumably he still is going to control them, because that's the end result of what happens to them. He ends up taking control of Mordor and controlling them.
Yeah.
But, like, they just all ran off after killing the one person that wanted them to, like, thrive as a culture.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you can run off, but you still have to return to this guy. You gotta lay in the bed you made, you know?
Oh, you fucking idiots.
God.
I would argue even that Galadriel he sees her as a friend, and she's not working out either.
Yeah, I mean, in his perspective, he said it in season 1 and season 2. He's like, I wanted you to be my queen, you know? Like, I wanted us to rule together.
Yeah.
Which...
She's not cooperating.
Right. It's more deception in her eyes, but in his eyes, it's completely truthful.
Yeah.
Like you said, he doesn't lie.
He's getting a taste of what Elrond's been getting all season. This bitch doesn't listen. She doesn't sit still.
Cock blocked and not listening.
She won't stop doing shit.
Well, that gets a good point. She end up taking to a sanctuary, and what does the king say?
Yeah. She really liked how quiet and still she was.
Yeah, it was so funny.
You finally shut the fuck up. Glad you're better.
Glad you're better. So, notably, it's sort of their sort of plotline ends in this sanctuary, and Elrond was the one that healed her with the power of her ring.
Yeah, he finally put it on.
He finally used it. He's like, I know how to heal her. Let's go take her somewhere and heal her. And which is impressive because even right before that, Gilgalad, the High King, says, I can't heal her. I don't know what to do. But Elrond says, I know how to heal her. I'll use that ring. And presumably the other two as well, but it's not ever said. But he's like, we'll use the rings in a protective area and save her. And then notably that area becomes Rivendell, which is the sort of replacement location of Eregion.
Okay.
So it's like they lost Eregion, that shit is burned and gone. They lost all the history of it as well. The orcs burned it.
Yep.
Elrond ends up creating Rivendell, and that ends up being the Elven Sanctuary sort of area, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Lastly, which is the easiest to cover, we get to the dwarves.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about them.
Yeah, you want to talk about them?
Yeah, the dwarves. The dwarves are going through it now that King Durin has his ring of power. He still has not distributed the other rings of power, and he's consumed with greed. But when he, as Disa said, when the king tried to turn on the prince, they were like, maybe something's off, and they sided with Prince Durin.
Yeah, Narvi finally woke the fuck up, and he's like, maybe not.
I guess it's a little off. And just as they're about to go help the elves over in Eregion, whatever.
Eregion.
The king decides he's gonna go fuck with the monster that's been down in the cave for 2 seasons.
Yeah, not good timing. And Elrond shows up.
He does. He's like, please show up. Please come through.
Please come. I need your help. I need your help. Yeah. And then the king's like, do not come.
You must wait.
Elrond's like, I know I ask too much of you, but I need your help for the sake of the elves. And you made a really good point. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, yeah.
About the king.
What's his face? Prince Durin should have mentioned that the king is wearing a ring of power. Because it would have brought a lot of much needed context that Sauron, whatever, is involved.
Right.
In this too. Right. Because from Elrond's point of view, it seems like he just chose usurping his dad over coming to help save like a couple thousand lives.
Yeah. It's not something I thought about when I was watching it, but you had mentioned it. I'm like, that's a really good point.
Like, him not showing up is immediately forgivable, knowing that Sauron mostly had something to do with it.
Right. They both said, like, I got a lot of shit going on, and a lot of shit has been going down since Elrond left, like, since you left Khazad-dûm. And they sort of elaborated. It's like, I'm about to overthrow my father, and Elrond's like, I'm going to war. Like, I need your help.
No one said why.
Neither provided either context that Sauron was involved. And it's just like, wow, okay, this is real geniuses. But Durin promised that the dwarves will show up.
Yeah, originally. They didn't.
They did not. And then Elrond's like, in the wars, like, Durin will come, the dwarves will come.
Yeah, when there were like 5 elves left.
I know, there was literally like 20 elves versus like 100 or 300 orcs left.
All the elves could fit on the screen at the same time.
They really could. It was a very depressing shot of the fight. I'm like, wow. Is that really the amount that they wanted to show, or did we just like run out of like extras?
I think that they ran out of elves. They've been fighting all night.
They have been. It has been a long fight. I also appreciated, at sort of a macro level, that this wasn't like all the elves versus like all the orcs. It was like, it was a smaller scale battle with a lot going on.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't like this, like, not every battle has to be this like over the top grandest thing alive. A lot of the smaller battles are really key too. And this was sort of a smaller one. It had a lot of like, obviously key characters and a lot going on, but it was still, like, grand scheme of things, a pretty small fight, and that was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be like 0 to 100.
That needs to be endgame.
Exactly. Yeah, really. But King Durin has a little escapade into the mines.
He sure does, and it finally clears his mind enough to be like, I should take the ring off. Because he busts through the fucking wall, he takes a seat, and he's bragging like, see, there's nothing here, it's chill, you gotta trust me. And then it gets fucking snatched.
Yeah, the Balrog, which is, it's basically a fallen angel, is the easiest way to describe it. It is a fallen angel. Actually, it's the same thing as Gandalf, but the evil version.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to put it. And so, if it's not obvious by that, one dwarf is no match for it.
He took it down, though.
Well, he took it down enough to close the area and seal it off.
I didn't do that.
He didn't kill it because this Balrog shows up in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
This is the same one that Gandalf fights and eventually kills.
I see.
But yeah, he does fend it off enough to seal it off. Yeah. Presumably. At least for now. So to save his son. I loved the speech that Prince Durin gave. He's like, hey, remember when I was little and we would arm wrestle and you would kind of let me win for a moment? And then in his last words is like, I never lifted my hand, son. That was you getting stronger.
Aww.
And I'm like, this is oh my God, chills. It's so nice.
Peak.
It's such a good ending and like tribute. And he's like, he pronounces him King Durin at the end as he, fucking jumps into the Balrog's mouth. And they never picked up the ring.
They didn't? Because it's on the thing.
Oh.
Unless there were 2 blue rings.
Okay. Maybe I watched this a few weeks ago, so maybe they did. But if they didn't, that's really bad.
Just left it there.
I'm guessing you probably saw that they picked it up, so let's go with that. But, yeah.
Maybe it's an error on the cast part. Because it's definitely on the, cradle of fucking rings.
Oh, then they probably picked it up. Or yeah, they probably picked it up. Either way. But yeah, so that's pretty much episode 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
Truncated
one big movie.
But yeah, one big movie. I'll go first. I loved it. I especially loved episode 8. I thought 6 and 7 were really good build-ups. We got a lot of good lore and a lot of solid moments, solid acting, solid fighting. It all accumulated into a masterpiece that is episode 8. That was really fun. I could completely not give a fuck about Isildur, not give a single fuck about Numenor and all the people there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't care about the Stoors. I like Poppy and Nori, but I don't give a fuck about the rest of them.
Yeah.
But it was fun finally getting confirmation that it's Gandalf. I never said it originally, but we still don't know who the Dark Wizard is. He's just someone that apparently knows Gandalf. But it's not... Oh, and the director or producer or some schmuck said it's like... That's probably not Sauron. Like, they made a note that it's like, yeah, we don't know who... We haven't said who this is yet, but it's not Sauron. Okay. Which makes sense. Like, it obviously wasn't Sauron from anybody that has a brain cell.
Okay.
But we don't, other than that, we don't know who it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 out of 10. Really good. What'd you think?
Also think 10 out of 10. I think my favorite was episode 7. Mostly because I enjoyed Sauron's and Celebrimbor's interactions.
Dude, the, what is it? Charlie Vickers is the actor for Sauron. And I think it's Charles Edwards is the actor for Celebrimbor. Those two nailed it out of the damn park in both episode 7 and 8. That's honestly some of the best acting I've ever seen.
They just kept giving.
They put 110%. I'm actually really bummed that we won't have more Celebrimbor in season 3.
I know, right? He's gone.
It's really upsetting because like the last 2 episodes especially are just utter bangers from an acting perspective. Their interactions were definitely peak. Highlighted the show for sure. The only thing I really wanted more of in this season was more interaction between Elrond and Durin.
Yeah, kind of just pops back in and asks for a favor.
Yeah.
Another one.
I really liked their interactions in season 2 or in season 1, and I wanted that more here. I kind of understand that they got their own things going on. But like the whole point of season 1 for them was like their sort of friendship reunion.
Yeah.
So I wanted more of that, but other than that, this was great.
I don't think they're going to be friends after this, or at least they're going to go through another breakup.
Well, so, I mean, he did send the dwarves, and he obviously had to deal with the loss of his father, so it makes sense that, like, they did try to keep his word, and he kept it eventually. Maybe not exactly on time, as would have been ideal, but... Yeah, really.
But he still doesn't explain why he didn't show up and why they were late.
Yeah, yeah. Well, presumably that'll happen in season 3.
It's gotta.
We'll get a makeup session between them.
I'd be
Solid.
pissed though, Elrond.
This I made a tweet about it, but this season is a perfect example of why you have to let stories and seasons play out.
Yeah.
Season 1 was enjoyable. We both liked it, but like, it was like, only like a 6.5 or a 7. Yeah. Right? It wasn't anything amazing, but we liked it. It was fun to watch. This one, 10 out of 10, and was built on the shoulders of season 1. Netflix has to learn that they can't cancel the first season of good shows when the initial performance is mid. You have to let chaos. I am upset about chaos. That's now is not the best thing I've watched. I think this is better, but still really good. Obviously, I don't need to say more about chaos. That hasn't already been said, but But Netflix needs to fucking pay attention. Amazon actually did something right this time, and it's not confirmed officially for season 3, but they said that like. We've had over 150 million viewers on this season, and reaction has been way more positive because obviously it's way better. Yeah. And that like we have plans for season 3, and all the actors seem to think that season 3 is happening. So, there's like an 80%, 90% chance that it's happening, and they just haven't announced it yet. So,
yeah, I think they're doing it. Unless something happens to Amazon itself, it's happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. But that ends season 2 of Rings of Power. Quality show.
Yeah.
Really good. But we have a question of the week from Rain.
We do indeed. This week's question of the week is, what would your Ring of Power look like?
Good question. I think Galadriel's is kind of ugly. I really like...
It's not your style.
It's not my style. I wouldn't go silver. I want a gold band, pretty wide band, so it covers more of my finger.
Yeah.
With a, how Durin's gem was kind of like upright, but also not clean cut.
Yeah.
I want that, but an emerald.
Okay.
His was like a sapphire. I want mine as an emerald because I think emerald is one of my favorite gemstones. I think gold and emerald really look good together.
Yeah.
And I would want some like sweet elven decals on the band itself to make it look cool.
Of course.
So that would be mine. What about yours?
Okay, so mine, it could be gold or silver, I don't care, but it's got to have a green, not red, red ruby like gem on it. Okay. And then like how sometimes some rings, they have like the smaller gems lining the sides of the rings, that too.
Oh yeah.
Either like diamonds, something clear, like quartz, baby.
Okay. Opal, perhaps?
So giants exist in this world, yes?
They do.
So the ring will be intended for a giant. Therefore, I can wear it like either a bracelet or a necklace.
Oh,
like
a
choker even.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm down with that. That's pretty good. You'd have the first, like, choker of power.
Ah, I love it.
Bright choker of power. That's like when Celebrimbor was really in his, like, punk era.
Yeah.
In his peak girl boss era.
Choker of power.
I would definitely think I would keep it as a ring. Like, I can't imagine, like, what other jewelry or accessories I'd want. If I could get, like, a watch of power, I would go with that.
What? watch. No,
Well,
that's too far.
Well, watches are really good accessories, but yeah,
mine is still technically a ring.
I would keep. Yeah, you just put it on as a necklace or a choker. I would keep it as a ring. I would keep it as a ring. I want like. You think Celebrimbor can make me like Google glasses of power?
Maybe. In conjunction with Sauron, definitely.
Oh yeah, easily. Also, there was never a bit, I'm backtracking a bit because I forgot to talk about it. There was never a bit of him talking about making his own ring. Surely that's for season 3.
Maybe, yeah.
Because he's still got to make his own ring and give all the...
There's one more.
One more what?
Yeah, one more ring that has to be made.
Right, he needs his ring, the one ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. But ours would look way cooler.
Definitely.
His is not even like gemstoned or pimped out. It's literally just a gold band.
He was short on time and resources.
Well, short on skill for sure. Yeah, and resources too. He just made it himself inside a fucking volcano.
Stole all that knowledge from the dwarves just to waste it.
Right? Got so much mithril, just couldn't get any fancy gemstones to go with it. When you said they're like giants, I thought you were gonna like put like a giant's tooth in it or something.
Tooth decorations.
Teeth. Power. Teethy powers.
Tooth of power.
Oh god. Braces of power. Alright, well, take it away.
I'm Wolf, taking things away. Thank you for watching episode 137 of You're Ridiculous.
Woo!
If you liked all that, be sure to hit the like, comment, and subscribe button and hit the bell so you get notified of the next episode. If you're watching on a podcast website, sure to hit the plus and give us 5 stars to support this show. You can follow us across the internet, the main cast at Instagram, the main cast on Instagram as the ridiculous_cast, on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow Lucas at 7 Angry Wasps and me at Rainbow Does without the W. We hope to see you guys all again next week, but until then, say goodbye.
Goodbye.